Imagine waking up one morning and everything is fine, your family is safe, your home is standing, the sun is rising the way it always does. Life is ordinary and ordinary feels good, and then without warning the sky goes dark, not slowly. Not like a storm rolling in from the distance, instantly, like a hand reaching across the heavens and covering the sun. And then the ground begins to move, not a tremor, not a rumble. A violent shaking that splits rocks open and throws people off their feet and sends walls crumbling into dust. And somewhere in the city, in the most sacred building in all of Israel, a thick, heavy curtain that took hundreds of men to hang. A curtain so massive it separated ordinary people from the very presence of God, tears in two, from top to bottom. In the middle of the afternoon, on an ordinary Friday. And when people looked toward the hill outside the city walls, they saw 3 men on crosses, and the one in the middle was dead. This is not a story that begins gently. This is a story that shakes the earth. And before we talk about what happened on that hill, we need to understand why it happened. Because what happened on that cross was not a tragedy. It was not a defeat. It was love, ancient, decided, unstoppable love, doing the most costly thing love has ever done. God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. God tolerated the world, not God pitied the world, not God reluctantly helped the world. God loved the world, every broken person, every failed life, every hidden shame, every secret sin, every human being who would ever draw breath on this earth. God looked at all of it and loved it fiercely enough to give the most precious thing he had, his Son. This is not a story about religion. This is not a story about rules. This is a love story, the greatest one ever told. And it leads through blood and darkness and torn curtains and shaking ground, straight to a cross. In the beginning God made everything, the heavens and the earth, light and darkness, sea and sky, every creature that swims, crawls, flies, and roams. And then the crown of everything he made, human beings, made in his own image, breathed into life by his own breath, not made to be servants, not made to be slaves, made to be children, made for relationship, made to walk with God and know him and be known by him and live in the fullness of everything he had generously prepared for them. It was good, it was very good. But the humans God loved so deeply made a choice that broke everything. They turned away from him. They chose their own wisdom over his word, their own desires over his design. And in that single act of turning away, something shattered that no human hand could ever put back together. Sin entered the world, and with sin came shame, fear, pain, separation, death. The relationship God had made them for fractured. The intimacy they had with God gone, they hid from him, and God called out, "Where are you?" Not because he did not know where they were, but because he wanted them to come back. Even now, even after everything, the first instinct of God's heart was not punishment. It was pursuit. That relentless, costly, never giving up pursuit of the people he loved is what the entire Bible is about. And it finds its fullest and most costly expression on a hill called Golgotha. For generations, God pursued his people. He called Abraham. He rescued Israel from slavery. He sent prophet after prophet calling his people back to him. And through those prophets, he gave a promise. Isaiah wrote it 700 years before it happened. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. This was not a guess. This was God speaking through his servant, describing a plan rooted in love, a plan to send his own Son, to do what no human being could ever do for themselves. And so in the fullness of time, God sent his Son, born in a stable, laid in a manger, raised in Nazareth, a carpenter's son who grew in wisdom and stature and walked the roads of Galilee and Judea for 3 years, doing what only God could do. He healed the sick. He opened blind eyes. He fed thousands with almost nothing. He raised the dead. He sat with the broken and the forgotten and the ones the world had thrown away, and he loved every single one of them back to life. But the religious leaders watched him with growing fury. Every miracle threatened their control. Every word exposed their hypocrisy. Every person he touched with love made them look cold and hollow. They had to stop him. And then their answer walked through the door. His name was Judas Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples. A man who had walked with Jesus for 3 years, watched the miracles with his own eyes, heard the teaching with his own ears, shared the meals and the road and the hard days, the Bible says Satan entered him, and Judas went to the chief priests and asked, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" 30 pieces of silver, the price of a slave. He took the money. And from that moment, he waited for the right opportunity. The night came quickly. Jesus gathered his disciples in an upper room for the Passover meal. He knew exactly what was about to happen. And yet he sat with them, took bread, broke it, and said, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." He took the cup and said, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood which is poured out for you." Then he looked around the table at the faces of the men he loved and said, "One of you will betray me." Room went silent. One by one they asked, "Surely not I, Lord." Judas asked the same, "Surely not I, Rabbi." Jesus looked at him, "You have said so." Judas said nothing more. Later that night he slipped out into the darkness. Jesus watched him go. He knew, and he stayed. Because love does not run after the meal, Jesus led his disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane, ancient olive trees, quiet shadows, a place he loved. But this night was different. The weight of what was coming pressed down on him unlike anything he had ever felt before. He took Peter, James, and John deeper into the garden and said, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." He went further, fell face down on the ground, and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." He came back and found his disciples asleep. 3 times he prayed. 3 times he returned. 3 times they were sleeping. And then torchlight through the trees, the sound of sandals on stone, the clinking of swords and clubs, and leading them through the darkness, Judas. He walked straight up to Jesus, "Rabbi," and kissed him on the cheek. Jesus looked at him, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" The soldiers seized him. Peter drew his sword and swung, cutting off the ear of the high priest's servant. Jesus stopped him immediately, reached out and healed the ear. Then he went quietly. And every single disciple turned and ran into the night. Jesus was led away alone. They brought him to the house of the high priest, a rushed illegal trial in the middle of the night. False witnesses brought forward, their stories collapsing under each other. Finally, the high priest stood up. "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" Jesus answered, "I am. And you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." High priest tore his robes, blaspheming. "He is worthy of death." They spat in his face. They struck him with their fists. They blindfolded him and slapped him. "Prophesy to us, Messiah, who hit you?" Out in the courtyard, a fire burned against the cold night air. Peter had followed at a distance, too afraid to be identified, too devoted to stay completely away. He sat among the servants and tried to blend in. A servant girl looked at him carefully. "You also were with Jesus of Galilee." Peter shook his head. "I don't know what you're talking about." He moved toward the gateway. Another servant girl saw him. "This fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth." Peter denied it with an oath. "I don't know the man." A little while later, those nearby came up to him. "Surely you are one of them. Your accent gives you away." Peter began calling down curses on himself. "I don't know the man." Immediately, a rooster crowed. Peter froze. And across the courtyard, Jesus turned and looked straight at Peter. 3 years of everything in a single look. Peter went outside and wept bitterly. The kind of weeping that comes from somewhere so deep it feels like it might break you completely. When morning came, they led Jesus bound to Pilate, the Roman governor. Pilate questioned him carefully. He found no basis for a charge. His wife sent him an urgent message. "Don't have anything to do with that innocent man. I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him." Pilate went back to the crowd. "I find no basis for a charge against this man." But the chief priests had stirred the crowd into a frenzy. "Crucify him. What crime has he committed? Crucify him. Crucify him." Pilate took water and washed his hands before the crowd. "I am innocent of this man's blood." Crowd answered, "His blood is on us and on our children." Pilate handed Jesus over. The soldiers took him inside. They stripped him, put a scarlet robe on him, twisted thorns into a crown and drove it onto his head, put a staff in his right hand. They knelt before him in mockery. "Hail, King of the Jews!" They spat on him. They took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. Then they put his own clothes back on him and led him out. He carried his cross through the streets of Jerusalem until he collapsed under the weight. A man named Simon of Cyrene was seized from the crowd and forced to carry it the rest of the way. They came to a place called Golgotha, the place of the skull, and there they crucified him, a criminal on his right, a criminal on his left. Above his head, the written charge, "This is Jesus the King." Soldiers divided his clothes among themselves and cast lots for them, fulfilling a psalm written 1,000 years earlier word for word. People passing by shook their heads and hurled insults. "You who are going to destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. Come down from the cross if you are the Son of God." The chief priests mocked him alongside them. He saved others, but he cannot save himself. "Let this Messiah, this King of Israel, come down now from the cross that we may see and believe." And Jesus, with nails through his hands, looked down at all of them, the mockers, the soldiers, the religious leaders drunk on their own victory, and said, "Father, forgive them. They do not know what they are doing." This is the love that sent him here. Not a love that waits for people to deserve it, not a love that keeps score, a love that hangs on a cross above the very people who put it there and asks God to forgive them. From noon, darkness came over all the land. For 3 hours the sky went completely black, not a cloud, not a storm, darkness, as if creation itself could not bear to watch what was happening to the one who made it. At 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?" For the first time in all of eternity, the Son experienced separation from the Father, because in that moment Jesus was carrying everything, every sin, every shame, every broken thing, every act of rebellion, every moment of turning away from God that every human being who ever lived had done or would ever do, all of it placed on him, so that it would never have to be placed on you. One final cry, loud, fierce, full, and he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. The earth shook violently, the rocks split open, and the curtain of the temple, the massive thick curtain that had separated ordinary people from the presence of God for generations, tore in two, from top to bottom. God tore it. The separation that sin had caused between God and humanity was finished. The centurion standing at the foot of the cross felt the earth shake beneath his feet, looked up at the man on the cross, and said, "Surely this was the Son of God." As evening came, Joseph of Arimathea, a rich man and a secret disciple, went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Pilate gave permission. Joseph took the body down from the cross. He wrapped it carefully and tenderly in clean linen cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb carved out of solid rock. He rolled a great stone across the entrance. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary sat down opposite the tomb, watching, waiting, in the silence of the most devastating evening of their lives, not yet knowing what was coming.